This is Small Talk with 101 ESPN's Michelle Smallman.
Hey, what's up? Welcome into episode 125 of Small Talk. Your host, Steve Ceruti, and Michelle Smallman are here with you. Ceruti, what's good, my man? How are you?
Not too much. A lot of binging Netflix shows recently for your boy. I actually went into a deep dive into this thing called Surviving Death on Netflix, which I told you about immediately. I think Maddie told you about it as well. It's basically about the afterlife. And now my mind is completely blown. It talks about reincarnation. I don't even know what I believe anymore. So I highly recommend it. I want you to watch it so we can talk about it in the future. But it's kind of just been a, I don't know, Netflix and chill kind of week. I don't know, just been hanging out on the couch, watching some soccer, watching some Netflix.
I also have been watching some TV lately, Steve, but I consumed both episodes of the HBO documentary on Tiger Woods. I don't know if you've seen it yet. It was very well done. It was about the rise and fall of Tiger. Some of the stuff we already knew, but there were some details about his childhood and his dad and his parents that I found very intriguing. So I'm going to need you to watch that because I would love to break that down with you.
Yeah, I remember after the MJ doc came out, everyone was like, okay, could anything possibly get to that level? And it seemed like everyone sort of agreed that a Tiger doc would be that story. So I'm excited. I haven't seen it. I would say growing up, Tiger was the most influential athlete on me personally. We were in like the Goldilocks zone of when Tiger in like 99 became a thing. That's when I really started to get into sports and start loving sports. My grandfather was a big golf guy. I worked at a golf course and he was the one that put a club in my hand when I was probably 7. So I'm all about that, but I haven't seen it yet. And there's only 2 episodes. I thought there was more for some reason. So 2 episodes, boom, done. I'll get that out of the way this weekend.
But I think the fact that it was only 2 episodes is a detriment to the product because I think they could have gone way deeper on a lot of the tentacles of the Tiger story. And it feels like they left a lot on the table.
Yeah, I mean, you could do 2 hours alone just on the night with the golf club and the car. I mean, there's so much to dig into there, and you're not even getting into his golf career whatsoever.
Right.
How much of it, without giving too much away, how much of it was, because I think the interesting part is, him being a sex addict and kind of his downfall more than it is him as an athlete. Because I think we know a lot of stuff. Like, we know Tiger as an athlete. We saw him grow up in front of our eyes. He had a golf club in his hand at age 2 on, what was that? I forget what the show was, but it was like one of those old school talk shows.
Johnny Carson,
yeah. So we know that guy. And I don't know, and we know some of the details about the divorce and his sex addiction. That to me is the interesting stuff. So I kind of want there to be 2 hours on that alone.
So each episode, I think, was roughly an hour and a half, and most of the second episode dives into that, to the fall of Tiger and how it all happened and how it came to light, all the dark deeds to light. There's some interesting stuff about he and Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley partying in Vegas together.
Of course.
But even that, it was just maybe like 10 minutes of them talking about that. And I'm like, I need a full episode on Tiger, MJ, and Chuck rabble rousing in Vegas. Like, we need more info on this.
Think about, can you get a bigger like athlete star trio than those 3 partying in Vegas? Like, remember the MJ doc, obviously the Rodman going to Vegas for a long weekend and then coming back and playing. But the 3 of those dudes, like knowing how much, how their star power, how much money they had. I mean, a trip to Vegas, a documentary on a trip to Vegas with those guys alone would be fascinating. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that you would throw in that group to make it somehow better.
Tom Brady.
Is Brady's not really a partier though. I feel like he'd be, and I'm not, this isn't an anti-Brady thing because I actually love Brady.
Tiger.
Well, come on. Tiger was definitely a partier.
No, but they talk about it at the time. He was not. He was a geek, they said, and he didn't really know what he was doing. He was very uncomfortable. And I'm just thinking about those guys from a star power standard. No one is bigger than Tiger or Michael Jordan or Tom Brady. If you throw Tom Brady in that mix, oh my God. Or maybe A-Rod or Derek Jeter, get some baseball in there too.
A-Rod, oh man.
Well, what Jeter, NHL player could you throw in there?
Jeter, there would be no documentation of that whatsoever if we know anything about his past. And he's a smart man because, as we know, as soon as you go into his house, you got to put your cell phone right in a container, and that thing goes away, and no one can post anything on any sort of social media thing, which is actually brilliant. But I actually think you're right. As a trio, or if you're adding Brady as 4 guys, that's pretty fun. But Brady's solo in Vegas, again, I'm not an anti-Brady guy. I love him. I think I like him as an athlete, but he kind of seems like a boring dude to go out with. I don't think he'd be at the top of that list.
I'm going to push back on that.
Really?
You remember the story about him chugging beer, how he can chug beer faster than anyone. He's actually legendary in that aspect. And I think if maybe his playing career was over and he could really let it fly, he could let it loose, he might be a great time.
Yeah, but Brady, when's the last time Brady chugged a beer? I would love to ask him that question. I mean, did he 2004? I don't know.
No, they said it was sometime, I think maybe at the Kentucky Derby.
Oh, that's right. Okay, when he goes with Edelman and all of his bro dudes. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Then he immediately has like a 360-day purge after that. He eats his avocado ice cream. He doesn't eat a carb for months, which, again, no way to live for me. But hey, do your thing. He's playing. There's a reason he's playing when he's 43 years old.
Okay, speaking of athletes, we haven't done nearly enough sports talk on this podcast recently. So we are going to be joined later in the pod by friend of the show, friend in life, Joe Flamm. You may know him from Bravo, Top Chef season 15 winner. But more importantly, he's a diehard Chicago Bears fan. And with all of this mess in Houston about Deshaun Watson and about him wanting to force his way out, there are fan bases across the NFL salivating over the idea of acquiring Deshaun Watson, and perhaps none more than Chicago, the place that passed on him and the place who hasn't really figured out the quarterback position in quite some time. So we're going to check in with Joe and find out about the mental state of Chicago Bears fans right now. But before we do that, Ceruti, a lot happening in the NBA. So let's talk some hoops with Ceruti. The floor is yours.
It's been a while. I know. I kind of feel like I got to scratch this itch. I've had a lot of thoughts in my head. I've had a lot of drafts on my Twitter feed that I haven't actually sent out because I just try not to go on. I don't know. We talked about this. We're not, Twitter, it's not a great place to be right now. So we try to keep those to ourselves. But I feel like I got to get some stuff out about this James Harden trade, right? And I want to hear what you think about it too. But let me just go on a little quick rant here. And what do we call this again? Is this hoops with Ceruti? Is that what the deal is? Hoops with roots?
I want to call it Talking Hoops with Ceruti.
Talking Hoops with Ceruti. We'll get our old boys guy ESPN to do it. Talking Hoops with Ceruti. All right,
with
and then some bells and whistles. Here's what I want to say. I want to talk about James Harden, the trade, and why we don't learn from history, right? I'm not a huge James Harden fan. I think if you've probably followed me on Twitter or listened to me with Russillo, like you probably know that. I sort of feel like, not taking away from him, him as a great player. I think he's obviously a great player, but I think there's probably a handful of guys in the league that if they were allowed to do what James Harden did in Houston, which was dominate the ball, usage rate through the roof, shoot a million threes, play next to no defense. I think there's probably like a dozen or so guys that could put up similar stat lines to what James Harden did, because the Daryl Morey thing and with Mike D'Antoni, I just kind of feel like you could replicate that. I think Dame Lillard could do that. I don't know if people consider him a superstar, but I think Dame Lillard would be able to put up the numbers that James Harden did. So I'll say that as a caveat. But I do want to talk about the trade itself. I didn't think a team could possibly fuck itself more long-term than the Nets did with that Celtics trade a couple of years ago. And they got Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce at age like 105 each respectively. But my goodness, the Nets, they went and they outdid themselves, right? They end up giving up more than they did in that original trade. They gave up 3 first-round picks. They gave up 4 pick swaps to get James Harden. And they won't have control, Michelle, of their first-round pick until 2028. So the better part of this decade, they will not have control of their first-round pick, which really in the NBA is key to building your team. I mean, there's not a lot of second-round picks that end up making it in the league. And, before, obviously they've gotten a lot of free agents in Brooklyn now, but I don't know if that's something that they can sustain long term. And here's what's wild. They put together what might be the 3 biggest and most volatile wild card personalities in the entire league in Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and James Harden. There is zero chance that this thing lasts more than 2 years. Not only because they're probably going to get sick of each other in that time if you look at, if you look back at history, but also because they're only under contract with the Nets until 2022. So I get the win now thing, Michelle. And I'm not even saying I probably would have made the trade because, and in the NBA, you get the star and you worry about the fit later, right? Those are 3 players who are probably top 10 talents in the entire league. I mean, with Harden and KD specifically, probably like top, maybe even higher that, maybe top 5. But I can't believe this thing could eventually be a massive disaster on the back end, because say in 2022, they decide they leave and they don't want to be with each other. They don't want to play with each other. And you didn't win a title, Michelle, you are absolutely screwed for the better part of at least the next 5 years, probably the next 10 years. So we could possibly be talking about Brooklyn being the Chernobyl of the NBA for the next decade. So no pressure on you, Brooklyn, but you've got to win a title in the next 2 years.
Yeah, no pressure that you have to lean on the fact that, as you mentioned, Steve, they have the three biggest wild cards in the league. Are those three personalities you think the three biggest wild cards in sports, not even just in the NBA? Because I was trying to think about personalities that you could even put on the same level as those guys in the NFL. And it was hard for me to come up with three that are in the same realm: star power and volatile personalities.
I mean, Kyrie Irving is the Michael Jordan of volatile personalities in sports. I don't think that's ridiculous to say. The guy, I mean, it legitimately depends on which way the wind is blowing, and that's how he feels today. I mean, he said he wanted his name and his jersey in the Raptors in Boston, and then very shortly after that, he's doing commercials of his, with his dad and talking about how much he loves Boston. And then, a couple months later, he's ghosting the media, doesn't want to talk to his teammates, and then he's out of Boston and going to Brooklyn to team up with his other friend. He also did that, obviously leaving Cleveland, leaving LeBron after winning a title. I actually understood that a little bit at the time, trying to get out of LeBron's shadow. But here's the thing with Kyrie now, he's now in KD's shadow, and then now he's probably also in James Harden's shadow, two players that are probably on the pecking order better than he is. So I can't imagine he's super pumped about that. So are things going to get better? I can't see Kyrie just being like, oh, I'm totally cool with this. I'm totally cool with being the third wheel in this relationship. No freaking way. I mean, I'm sure there are bigger, more volatile personalities that are a lesser degree of player. Like Kyrie's a very well-known player. So I think when you combine star power with how volatile he is, Kyrie is number one by far. KD is totally different though. KD, absolute superstar, probably top two, maybe one on his day player in the NBA when he's actually healthy. But again, the moodiness, and I just don't ever feel like KD, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I just feel like reading through the tea leaves, he just doesn't seem like a guy that's really happy. He just wants to play basketball, but doesn't want to deal with all the other stuff that comes along with basketball, like the gossip and people telling him that his titles aren't legitimate in Golden State, which, by the way, they might not be. But I don't know. I sometimes I look at Kevin Durant, I feel bad for him. And James Harden, on the other hand, is a guy who has exclusively operated in a zone of it's all about you, and you're going to take as many shots and do whatever you want for about 5 years. So for him to now go into a team concept and try to actually not dominate the ball on a night in, night out basis, I'm fascinated to see how this thing works, both on the court and off the court. I have my doubts. I don't think they're going to win a title, but I mean, from a neutral standpoint, Michelle, the Nets are must-see TV.
They are. It's going to be reality TV, but the NBA always is reality TV.
This is where I go back and I think I tweeted this out once before. The NBA needs like a real world type reality show. Could you imagine a real world version of inside the Nets locker room? I mean, they would never do this because obviously it would expose a lot of bullshit that they probably don't want exposed, but it's like an episode of Real World. You put volatile people in the same locker room, and then let's see what happens, right? What was always the quote from Real World, like the mantra?
I know it. When people stop being polite and start getting real.
Yeah, that's literally what the Nets are doing currently. And again, as I said, this could end up being the Chernobyl of the NBA in the next decade. And I personally can't wait for it.
That was a great first edition of Talking Hoops with Ceruti.
I felt like it was a little long, but I'm sorry. I got really excited. These pent up takes are in me here, and I'm trying to get them out. But listen, I hope I don't root against any of these guys, but I cannot see this thing working out well. I can't.
Can I give you a pent up take of my own?
Fire away. Now that we're just getting stuff off our chests, let's do it.
Actually, your energy there inspired me, because I have been sitting on a take for a while. Now, I follow sports and I understand everything you're talking about. You probably have no idea what I'm about to talk about, so I'm going to make it quick. It's going to be the Bravo minute with Smallman.
Love it.
But you talked about drama, you talked about volatility, you talked about reality TV, and it reminded me of something that has been bugging me lately. So, Steve, you know that I'm a Real Housewives devotee. I love me some Real Housewives. I love the drama of it. I love the ridiculousness of it. It takes me so far away from my real life and allows me to mentally check out and also invest in something really dumb. So it's a luxury for me in that regard. And there's all different cities where the Housewives exist. Some are better than others. OC, way down the tank. Way.
Why is that?
It's just not compelling anymore. The castmates, in my opinion, have gone stale. I mean, part of the Housewives, Steve, is that they're supposed to have money. It's supposed to be aspirational. It's supposed to be so far outside the realm of what you could do in your life that you want to watch. You're intrigued because you want to watch it for the house and the cars and all these stupid things that they do because they have money. When you have a woman on there who is getting divorced and living in a casita and she has sequined pillows and she has bad extensions. I mean, no offense, Gina, but that's not really compelling television for me.
Get it together, Gina. What are we doing? Come on.
She's picked it up this season a little bit. She's a nice person, but that's kind of the problem, is that she's too normal and nice for me. I need crazy people to be on the Housewives, which brings me, Steve, to the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Brand new franchise this year. There's a lot of stuff going on in Salt Lake City that is ripe for drama.
Really quick, if I was to pick the city least likely to have a Real Housewives, it would probably be Salt Lake City. Who are the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City?
So you've got a lot of money there. You've got a lot of people with a lot of beliefs, and you have a lot of competition because they are all going through this pursuit of perfection, and none of them are perfect. So there's drama.
Okay.
But there's a woman on the show that I cannot stand. And I do not like to call out other women. This is so far outside my comfort zone, but it must be said. Just like you were talking about the volatile personalities and things that might not work out, this must be said because Mary Cosby is the Kyrie Irving of the Real Housewives franchises. You heard it here first. Mary Cosby is the Kyrie Irving of the Real Housewives. So she shows up on the show. We're trying to get to know her. The first thing we learn about her, Steve, is that she is married, wait for it, buckle up, to her step-grandfather. She's married, you heard me correctly, to her step-grandfather. So her grandmother was the first lady of a church, and she was at the head of this congregation. And obviously with that came status, it came money, it came properties, and all of the things that go with it. And when she passed away, she put it in her will that her granddaughter was supposed to marry her husband, which was this girl's step-grandfather, so that she could assume this role as the head of the church and get all the money.
Wait, so it was like an arranged marriage of sorts?
Correct, through her grandmother's will.
Imagine if your grandmother was like, "You're going to marry my husband."
I would be like, "You're dead." The answer is no.
That is incredibly fucked up, incredibly weird, but probably great fodder and a great starting place for a reality TV show.
Yes, except she is a terrible person.
Shocker.
I cannot stand. Normally the drama has some sort of intrigue for me. These women are ridiculous. This woman has taken it so far beyond ridiculous. She is at the head of this church, Steve, and she's a blatant liar. She married her step-grandpa, and she's preaching all of this stuff. And then when it cuts to her real life, all she does is talk about all the possessions that she has. She has homes that are filled with her designer clothes. All she does is talk about the fact that she's wearing Balmain and Louboutins and look at the Chanel bag and all this stuff. And where is that money coming from, Steve? Probably from these people from the church.
Yeah.
And I need the FBI and the IRS to do some investigations, because few things in life incense me more than people that use religion as a way to gain monetary success. And that really bothers me. And I just feel like she's a fraud, and I feel like she's annoying. And I just cannot believe she's on the show. I want to write a personal letter to Andy Cohen to get her off the show. I cannot stand her. And I don't even think it's good, compelling television. It just makes me angry. Look, I'm getting red. I'm so upset about it.
I haven't seen you upset about something like this in a while. Have you ever seen the Righteous Gemstones HBO show? Danny McBride.
No, but I like Danny McBride.
John Goodman. It's literally about that family. It's about a religious family. I think they're from the South, but how they just have a ton of money because they started this like preach and they have multiple churches, and this is what they do. And all the family members are preachers now. And it's like this power struggle for, who does what. And it sounds exactly like what you're talking about, but it was a parody show. And that was what's funny about it. This is literally that in real life. But here's what I'm going to push back on you. I don't really, maybe I'm a dick. Maybe I'm an asshole. And if I am, call me out right now. But I don't really feel bad for people that get duped like that. I don't. I'm sorry. Like I got bigger and better things to worry about.
You don't feel bad for elderly people that know that their clock is ticking and they're trying to get a ticket to heaven so that they can be with the Lord? That's not my fault. That's not telling them that the way to do it is to put a little in the donation. Because also, they're probably thinking, if I'm giving money to the church, it's going towards helping others. There's all sorts of scripture that I'm sure is being quoted to them about how possessions don't matter. Earthly possessions don't matter. The only possessions that matter are in your soul. I went to Catholic school for 12 years. I can recite them all. We know these things, but I don't want to get into that. By the way, I Googled it. she says that she has other things like restaurants and salons that generate all this money, but still all she talks about is material things and how much she has and her homes. And she has a maid named Charlinda who she's so rude to. Justice for Charlinda.
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable. She deserves better. I just
people that are rude to
ugh.
people that are rude to, servers or people that help you, like I don't know if anything pisses me off more than that. Like if you're rude to a waiter who's making minimum wage, all right, so we screwed up your salad order. It's not that big of a deal. Settle down.
Right. Settle down. No, but then I also think, okay, am I being too judgmental?
Never.
Because here's a never. Because here's a woman who was really young. I think she was like 20 or something. I need to look this up when she got thrust into this position. And so this is probably a product of her environment type deal. She only knew this life. I don't know, but it just really bothers me. Rant over. This again went way longer than I anticipated it to. But I am so over her. I know she's going to come back next season because it's a juicy storyline. And I am like, I need the receipts. Like we need the receipts of where this money is coming from, because if she's robbing the church, she needs to be exposed.
But if you're one of those, this is why I'll circle back and I say, I got bigger things to worry about than that. If you're giving a bunch of money to some church and you're not interested in where that, and they're driving like, Hummers, and why would anybody drive a Hummer? That's the dumbest thing I've ever said. G-Wagon. If you're driving like a Maserati, if you're rocking Louboutins, which by the way,
Wait, what?
Oh, wait, no, I screwed that up. So actually, that's a funny side story. I used to think Louboutins was pronounced Louboutins. True story. That is a true, and I just screwed it up there. But anyway, if you're rocking all this materialistic stuff and you're still giving them and not asking questions, I'm sorry, that's on you. That's on you.
Right, but I don't know if she wears robes to church. So I don't know if
but you could Google her, Michelle, and see that she's wearing high-end stuff. Come on. You saw what car she drove in, unless she's driving like a 95 Accord to like try to be undercover or something, which I highly doubt is happening. This to me is on the person giving. You gotta have more awareness than that. Your awareness rating needs to be up. It's below 50, get it up to it in like the mid 80s.
But how many people really see the car that their pastor rolled up in? Not many. They usually park behind the chapel, Steve. They're down in the rectory.
I don't know. I got bigger things to worry about. And here's the thing that you said at the end of why that she's probably going to be on next season and why she sells is there are probably a ton of people that feel the way that you feel, and that's why they're watching the show.
Yeah.
So we've been duped. They dupe us. They dupe us into doing these things. At least in the NBA, there's some uncertainty about how this thing can end. Like we just know how the Real Housewives show is going to end. It's going to end with her probably getting more money and becoming more famous and doing whatever the hell she wants.
Do you think you would be good on a reality show? Because I look at someone like her who probably wants the fame, she wants the attention, she wants the money that comes with it. But are you really ready for the ramifications that come with you exposing your life on television?
I'm not controversial enough. I'm not materialistic enough. I'm not confrontational enough. I'm too passive, I think, to be a reality star. People might like me, but I'm not the reason that they tune in. Like I'm like Steven on the Hills, right? He just kind of comes in every couple episodes. Everybody likes him, but he can't drive his own show. That's kind of how I feel like it, if I was to be in a reality situation.
I think you would be okay. So let's reference the Real Housewives again. If we're doing the Real Housewives of Connecticut and Maddie's a housewife,
good times.
The house husbands are sometimes the biggest stars. And I think you could come in and be an awesome house husband because all you do is comment on the women's bullshit and their drama. And you would tell it like it is. You're a straight shooter. And I think you'd be really funny. I think you'd actually be a very, very popular house husband.
Now that you say that, I would be the Jay Cutler of Kristen Cavallari's show, of Barry Cavallari. I'd be, Jay became a star, but again, I don't know if Jay drives his own show, but he is a side character that people love to see because he's snarky. He doesn't give a shit. He tells it like it is. He clearly has zero fucks to give. That I would thrive in that role, not as a main cast member, as a secondary character that everyone like is just it's almost like a sitcom when everyone applauds and gets pumped up when some guy comes on every couple of episodes. That would be me. I'd be the Jay Cutler in this scenario.
Yeah. I'm not rich enough to be a housewife, so I would not thrive on that show.
Well, I don't think that you're not mean enough. You're not vindictive enough. You're not conniving. Am I making that? I think
no, but I would stir the pot, right? I would be like, oh, Janice, really? Didn't you just say that about Sharon? I heard it. That's what you said last week. I would be the one that just kind of pokes my head in and says, she said this. And then I'm like, you two go at
You're a
it.
shit stirrer. That's what you that's
Not
what
in-
you do.
Not in normal life, but I think in that situation, I would be like, I'm sick of these women. Here's what she said.
So you're acting, which is what I think a lot of these women are doing, right? They're not actually them. That's not how they are in real life. There's no way you can be that way in real life. So I think, yeah, you would be, if you were acting in that way, then you'd be funny. But normal Michelle, no, you're Midwest Michelle is way too nice for that shit.
Yeah, I'd probably be so boring if I was a housewife.
But I think people would like you. Same thing, like if you were on The Bachelor, I don't think you would be good on The Bachelor. Like, I don't think you would win The Bachelor because I don't think you would care enough about the dude. But people would like you because you're so oblivious to it. And you're like, this, I'm better than this. Like, I don't want to do this because this is totally bullshit. This is a waste of my time. You'd be in the other room watching, like, I don't know, Blues hockey games while they're doing the rose ceremony. And people would love that version of you, but you wouldn't win the show. So you'd be great, but you wouldn't win.
They'd be like, wait, we're missing a girl at the rose ceremony. And they're going to be like, oh, Michelle's with the production guys watching the NFL on their phone.
She's eating nachos and watching whatever. I don't know, the Cardinals baseball game. I like that person. I would love you on that show, but you wouldn't win.
I would never win. I would get kicked off week 1. You, however, might be the worst bachelor in history. I cannot imagine anyone being more awkward in that scenario than you.
The Bachelor or the Bachelorette? If I'm the main guy?
If you had 30 women that you had to navigate through and give roses to and deal with their drama and watch them cry and tell you they love you after 3 weeks, you would be so uncomfortable.
It would. I would hate I don't like the attention from 1, 2, 3. If there's how many are there? 30?
I think there's 30 or somewhere around there, 20, 30. It's a lot of women there.
I'm also not a player. I think those guys, they love the attention. They like to, talk with different women and feel like they're the man. That's never been my thing. I'm just not into it. So I think I would probably initially pick out like one person that I would like, and I would just stick with them for the rest of the show. And it would be a really boring show.
You'd have to play the game though. You can't just come into the rose ceremony and there's 30 women and you're like, only Maddie gets the rose. You have to still give the roses. You can't be like, I'm not really feeling it with any of you other girls.
I would probably kick off half right off the bat. Be like, nope, we're not doing it. Not feeling the vibe. And I know you can't do that either. And then they want to keep the craziest people on the show because it's good television. Those would be the first people. I can't deal with that. I don't want drama in my life. I got enough things to worry about. I'm not trying to have drama in my life with these people. So there's no way it would work out for me whatsoever. And then the other version of that would be me being on The Bachelorette and being one of the 30 guys. No, I would never compete for someone's love. I mean, especially someone that you don't even really know. Plus, those guys are always so sensitive, and I don't feel like I'm that sensitive. They get so worked up. They cry, they drink a ton. It's just not me. And I would be the guy playing FIFA in the basement and be like, catch me later, guys. If you need me, I'll be down here.
But I don't even think, to what we were talking about me ditching to watch sports and you playing FIFA, I don't think they have access to any of that. I don't even know if they have their phones.
Then we're in trouble because I might have a mental breakdown if that's the case. I couldn't be swept up in all this trauma for how long? What's the timetable? Is it like a couple weeks, a week? How long?
I think so. I mean, it's got to be a couple weeks to a month, depending on how long you're on there. But I think that's why people get so invested in it. It's because they're spending all day, every day thinking about this one person.
Yeah. And they like quit their jobs too. I mean, they leave their lives to do this thing. And me, I also don't love people that are super desperate. I feel like there are so many people on that show that are so desperate that I'm just like, kindly get out of my face. Like, this is so, So no, again, I think I might be a fan favorite, but I wouldn't win.
I actually think I might be better on that show than I think I would be initially, because I would get bored and I would just start making friends with all the girls and getting the scoop on everybody.
Are they friends though? I thought they're
a lot of them become friends afterwards, I think. Well, some are contentious, but I would just be picking out girls that I would want to hang out with. I would be pulling out all of their stories, asking them a lot of questions about themselves so that they could reveal their hands to me and I could figure out how to use it to my advantage to gain the guy's heart.
You tell me because you've seen them and I don't know, but you strike me as someone who's too normal. There's I think all the girls or guys that are on these shows, they've got a little something off about them, some a lot, but there's always like a little something for you to be crazy enough to do that or desperate enough to do that. You have none of that. You have none of those qualities. You're well-rounded, you're normal, you're well-read, you're smart, you're ambitious. Like, you're not really, I'm doing a live dating profile on the air right now for you. But,
yeah, you are.
But I'm not like, she's great. Obviously, Michelle's the best, but I don't think you're crazy enough to do the show. I just don't think you are.
So I'm watching this season of The Bachelorette. I'm behind on this week's episode, but a bunch of girls that I know watch it and they roped me into watching it. And so we only watched the one season with JoJo because we did it for ESPN. We've talked about
Chad.
this with Chad. That's right. And some of these girls are certainly a couple sandwiches short of a picnic, but a lot of them seem like really nice girls. They actually seem pretty normal. I do think there's a thirst level there that I don't identify with. A lot of them, I think, are nice girls that just want to be Instagram famous after this. But this guy, Steve, that is the Bachelor, is like the perfect guy. He's so nice. He's so sweet. He seems really compassionate. He's very hot. He's athletic. I think he's successful. He seems to have a great head on his shoulders. I'm rooting for him, Steve. I hope he finds love.
Do we know how old he is? Is he like 30s? What are we talking?
Let me find out. Stand
because
by.
Again, if you're the guy you're describing, who's that, well put together, smart, I don't know.
He's 29.
There's got to be. Oh, okay, that's still pretty young. Okay,
Yeah.
I was gonna say if he's in his mid 30s, I think that's a kind of a red flag. Like, why is this guy still not? Whatever. I don't know. Maybe there are plenty of things that can go into that. So maybe I'm totally wrong on that. But again, the guys are almost sometimes more crazy than the girls too, though. Like, you're right. I think the girls want to do it because they want to be Instagram famous, or they want to I don't know, do that whole scene. The dudes, I think, just like they think so highly of themselves and they think that they're the man. They're going to go in there and they're going to alpha their way into wooing this girl. And it's just like, ugh, that's just so, nothing could be more opposite than that for me.
Okay, we talked about this briefly last week. I think I would be the best reality show for me to be on, I think, would be Survivor. I think I could survive.
I think you would be good on Survivor because you're smart and people would underestimate you. I'm not saying that as a negative thing for you, but you don't look exactly like the kind of person that would be awesome on a desert island, but you actually kind of would be on a desert. You know what I mean? I think you would be good on that. And people would be like, oh my God, Michelle just won. What the hell happened? What's going on? It'd be the ultimate underdog story.
I would. I don't have to eat a lot, so I could really preserve my rice bags.
75 hard on
75
the island.
hard. I now have this body that is made for endurance. Right, I can lift heavier things, but I would have a strategy. This body is built for Survivor now. Yeah. No, but I would have a strategy. I would cozy up to the strongest guy, and I would just be like, "I'm weak, help me! Like, I'll give you some of my rice. I'm not hungry if you lift this hut for me or whatever." And I would make alliances with people that have strengths that are my weaknesses, and I would just make everybody think I was so incapable of anything that they would never vote me off, because they would be like, if it comes down to me and her, I'm going to kick her ass. And then it's going to come down to me at the end, and I'm going to really flex what I can do, and boom, I'm the winner.
I totally agree. I think this is a great fit. I think we need to make it happen. And I don't know how we need to do that. There's been like a million seasons of Survivor too. Have you ever actually watched the show? I've never even watched the show.
Like at the very inception, like the very beginning when that guy Richard won, but never after that. Great theme song, by the way. I still remember the theme song to Survivor, that beat that they have at the beginning.
I vaguely
I've only
remember
watched like
it.
one season.
I vaguely remember it, but I think we need to try to make this happen, because I think this would be super fun. I would be terrible on Survivor. It wouldn't work out.
Really?
For me. I have no survival techniques. Navigation is not my best thing. I'm not really cunning. And again, I don't want to make alliances with people. Although, you know what? I do love playing Risk, and I'm like probably a terrible person to play Monopoly with because I'm way too aggressive. I am hyper competitive in those situations. So maybe like my competitive spirit will kick in and I'll just be this awesome guy. But I feel like I would try too hard and people would vote me off really soon, because they'd be like, he's way too ambitious. He's kind of a dick. He's a little bit standoffish. We got to get him out of here.
Okay, what are some other reality shows that we could be on? Okay, well, Teen Mom, that ship has sailed. We're not going on Teen Mom. You know what my favorite reality show is that I would be terrible on is Shark Tank. I love Shark Tank. I binge Shark Tank all the time, and I would be the worst at it because I would get in there with my product. One of them would make me an offer. I would never push back. I'd be like, Damon, yes. Lori, we're going. Like, even though I would want Mark to pick me because he's more shrewd and I think that he has the best connects overall, I would never wait for Mark. If Mark played the game with me, he would play me so hard because I would just jump at the first. I'd be like, what percentage do you want? Sure. I'm not even going to give you my valuation. Just take it. Take the deal. Put me in Home Depot.
I'm with you. One of the things that I embarrassed my dad the most about is my inability to negotiate. Specifically, like if I was buying a car, I'm taking the first. I don't want to negotiate. It's the most uncomfortable thing I think you could possibly do, is try to haggle somebody down. And so you're right. If Lori offers me something, it's like, oh, done. I'm taking it. Sorry, we're done here. Like there would be no haggling. There would be no discussion. I would just take it instantly because I just find that really uncomfortable. But I think if you had a good idea that you were behind and a great presentation, I think you'd be good at that part.
I could pitch it, but when it comes to the negotiation part, like you mentioned, no way.
You're giving up 90% equity.
100%.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, your product isn't a great fit for QVC. I'll be like, but that's fine. We'll go to QVC. We'll go to Lori. I don't even care. Mr. Wonderful, you want it? Anybody. I don't even care which shark. I would just be jumping at the opportunity. I would be the worst on Shark Tank.
Yeah, no. So you have to be a business person and a haggler. Neither of us check any of those boxes. I'm trying. What else would be good? What about Jersey Shore?
Well, my family does have Jersey roots, but I can't imagine Midwest Michelle being plopped in the GTL space with Ronnie and Sammy and Snooki and JWoww and the situation and Paulie D and Vinny. Wow, I just rattled all of those.
That was impressive. So wow, your encyclopedic knowledge of Jersey Shore. My goodness.
I can't remember anything. And somehow I just peeled off the Jersey Shore member. Dina, we're all here. What was the other girl that sucked? Angelina,
right?
Angelina.
Yeah.
Very good.
Wow. This is crazy. I haven't watched the show in years, but yeah. Okay. Really quickly though, okay, let's clarify this. Are you talking about us in our early 20s or us now doing the show? Because me now doing the show, no way. When I was in a party phase, post college, young Steve, feeling good, still going out on the weekends, probably having too much to drink, single, I think that's a different story.
Yeah, let's go early 20s when we were at the same age bracket they were. I still don't think that we would be a good fit because of the drama.
I was much more into drama then than I am now. I feel like 32-year-old Steve is how can we make life as simple as possible and as pain-free as possible? But back then I was arrogant. I was probably a dick. I was hyper competitive. So at the bar, if we're doing shots, I'm trying to keep up with everybody else. I'd probably puke on camera too, and that would be fun for everyone to watch. I actually think that young Steve would be okay. I don't think I'd be friends with it. The problem is I don't think I'd be friends with any of them. I don't have anything in common with them. I don't like them. They don't play video games. They're not really into sports. All they want to do is gym, tan, laundry. I don't do any of those things.
But you could drink. Wait, I just looked this up and I'm dying. Do you remember when Ron cheated on Sam? And Snooki and JWoww wrote the email. Can I read you the email?
Fire away.
They went to the internet cafe and she was typing with her line.
Yeah. I remember specific times watching it. I remember when Snooki got punched. We were at the bar in college. I remember.
Oh yeah.
That was one of the most wild things I think anyone's ever seen on TV. I remember exactly where I was when that happened.
Okay, can I read you this email?
Yes.
I can't even get through the first sentence. Sam. The first night at bed when you left, Ron made out with two girls and put his head between a cocktail waitress's breasts. Hold on. Also was grinding with multiple fat women. When you left crying at Clutch, Ron was holding hands and dancing with a female and took down her number. Multiple people in the house know, therefore you should know the truth.
Are we cool with that? The snitching there?
That's iconic. That's an iconic email that was sent.
It's great because I love how official they tried to make it. It was supposed the tone was very serious, even though it's the most ridiculous email I've ever read. I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now I look back at it, I go,
JWoww don't have any loyalty to Ronnie. Okay, it's hoes before bros, or I should say ovaries before broveries, because we're not hoes. We don't degrade women that way.
Good call.
Ovaries before broveries, right? Or is that what? Oh wait. Ovaries before broveries? Is that what we say?
I've never heard that before, but I love it.
There you go. So they need to defend their girl and let her know what's up, but they can't just up and say it because then they're going to be prime targets in the house for drama. So I think the way they went about it was probably the best thing.
Who was your favorite person on the show? I mean, it's hard to pick because I don't think I liked anyone that much, but I always kind of liked Sammy. I thought she was somewhat the most normal, all the dudes sucked. And
I liked Paulie D.
I get why girls would like Paulie D. He's weird and chill, a little bit mysterious.
So funny. He was like the DJ. He seemed like to be everyone's friend.
He's still a DJ, isn't he?
Yeah, he makes a lot of money.
Never gave it up. Good for him. Live the dream, dude.
Wait, let's see what his net worth is.
Oh, it's probably a ton. And
what do you think it is? You tell me. Give me your guesstimation.
Wow. 25 mil? Is that? I don't even know if that's too high or too low.
20 mil. Pretty
Look
close.
at me. Okay,
Look at
nice.
you. Good
We know
guess,
way
good
too
guess.
much about the Jersey Shore.
Yeah, okay, we need to move on past this because I'm
Yeah.
embarrassed by how much we remember about the
Yeah,
Jersey
too much
Shore.
affliction and tight t-shirts and fake hands. Anyway, moving on.
Okay, I'll give you one more before we get to Joe Flamm. I think you would thrive, you and Maddie, in a fixer-upper or property brothers type situation.
Well, Maddie is a realtor, so her dream is to be Joanna from Fixer Upper, which basically is like an interior designer. She designs the inside of houses. She picks out like houses, which ones to redo. And then Chip is kind of the grunt guy. He just like knocks walls down and puts sheetrock up. I don't really have the knowledge of that stuff, but I definitely would be good at it and I'd like to do it. So I'll say yes, mostly because Maddie is the one that would want to do this and this is her dream. But I will say this, we've actually talked about this. The real Chip and Joanna version of for my family is Maddie and my dad, because my dad is Mr. Fix-It and Maddie is obviously the Joanna person. So if there was actually a reality show, with the Cerutis that was based off a concept like that, it would be Maddie and my dad.
Wait, that's actually a great hook. The daughter-in-law and the father-in-law. The title of the show, Putting Down Roots with Ceruts.
We love the Ceruts thing. Now that the Ceruts thing is now a theme. I don't know if I love it, but I guess it's happening.
But think about it. Your home is your roots. It's your foundation. So there's got to be something with Ceruts.
I like it. And actually, I do think now that you say that, the show that's a great concept. Maybe we need to talk to your boy Andy Cohen about this.
No, HGTV, hit us up.
Yeah. I mean, my dad literally is Mr. Fix-It and Maddie's incredible. So what's up? If you're looking for a new version, a new spin on this, because I feel like everyone does the same shows over and over again, but we've got a new spin on the new housing show. This is awesome. By the way, speaking of, really quickly, could I just shout out a show that's absolutely ridiculous? I think people have done this before. What is the House Hunters? Have you ever seen House Hunters?
Of course. It's like a woman who runs a daycare and a traveling musician, and their budget for their vacation home was like $3 million in Hawaii.
Yeah, like unemployed, and then the dad is like the other one's like a basket weaver, and it's 2.5 million. Right. It doesn't make any sense, and it annoys me every time. So I can't enjoy the show because I can't get over that concept.
But you know what? I get really invested in it, and I'll be like, they should pick the one with the bay windows. Those will be really nice when they have coffee in the morning.
That's true. I know. Oh man.
Okay, well, now that we've run through reality TV shows, why don't we bring in a guy who's been on one? Well, living in St. Louis, we always have one-eyed train to the north side. We're always peeking on Chicago and seeing what's going on in the Chicago sports scene. And since we don't have an NFL team here in St. Louis and we don't need to revisit all the trauma there, a lot of people here in St. Louis have adopted the Chicago Bears. And it's been such an emotional roller coaster for Bears fans over the past few years. And it seems as if a lot of this drama and consternation is coming to a head. So Steve and I wanted to talk about this because we find it to be very intriguing. And I was like, you know what? I know a guy in Chicago that has a lot of thoughts about the Bears, and I think could be a really good barometer for us about the state of Bears fans right now. So Steve and I are pumped to welcome in our guest this week, Joe Flamm. You probably know him from Bravo, season 15, Top Chef winner, chef extraordinaire, but more importantly, true blue Chicago sports fan. Joe, thanks for taking the time to join us. How you doing?
So happy to be here. Back talking to you guys. How's it going?
We are good. Okay, first things first. The Bears had a weird season. A lot of people didn't think that they would be a playoff team. They get to the playoffs. Mitchell Trubisky kind of teases everybody a little bit, playing good down the stretch. And then the Bears ultimately get bounced to the Saints in the first round of the playoffs. So just as a Bears fan, on a scale of 1 to 10, give us a confidence check. Where are you with this Bears team right now?
So, I mean, first of all, for all the St. Louis people who are new to being a Bears fan, I kind of, I feel for them. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like, when I meet people who tell me they want to be a chef or in the restaurant industry, I'm like, I'm not here to talk you into it. I'm here to tell you that if you can think about doing anything else with your life whatsoever, you should do that. And I feel the same way about sports. If you could figure out to be a fan of any other team, you should probably do it, because the Chicago Bears are just going to fucking hurt you. But for me, it's like, this season was the worst because we started off hot and it was like, you're like, I don't want to believe this. And I'm believing it. And it feels good and it feels right. But you're like, this is just wildly toxic. Like, why are we doing this again? And then it goes a little further. And it felt like when we were 5-1 and we lost that first game to put us 5-2. I forget who it was against. And I was like, I remember I was texting my buddy. So I was like, we might not win another game this year. And it seemed like for a while, we just weren't gonna. I was just like, we're just not going to win another game this year. But there was a sense of peace there. It was like, okay, you know what? Like, fine. This is going to be the end of this. This is the end of Trubisky. This is the end of Nagy. This is the end of Pace. This is going to be the final nail in their coffin. Pagano's gone. This is going to be, this is going to be best case scenario. So then we get to the end of the year. Bears, Packers for the playoffs. We're like, okay, well, now everyone's opinion has changed because if we can beat the Packers to get in the playoffs, we belong there. Fuck Aaron Rodgers, fuck Green Bay, and we're going, and I think that's like, we were ready to be on that train. We were so in for it. And then we just get crushed per usual. And then we limp into the playoffs anyways. So it was like really just the worst. It was the worst. So then you're getting yourself all hyped up for a playoff game. You're like, hey, at least we're in the playoffs. You never know. Like this could, everything changes in the playoffs. We get to the playoffs. Nothing changes. We get crushed by the Saints in a pitiful game. And it's just, then the Bears organization comes out. Chuck Pagano retires. They pin everything on him. And they're like, oh, yeah, Pace and Nagy are fine. And so it's like, it just feels like worst case scenario somehow.
At that point, you'd probably rather not make the playoffs than bring Trubisky and Nagy and all those guys back, right? You'd rather just rip the Band-Aid off instead of like letting this thing bleed out for hours.
Right. I mean, it's like, there's got to be a change. Like, what are we doing? It's just a shot for mediocrity. And it's like, you have this defense that has nothing but talent on it and they do nothing with it. And you're like, what are we doing here? Like, eventually these guys are going to stop playing hard because it's like, they're going against 3 and outs. And it's like, how many times are you supposed to hold the Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers? And like, you hold those guys to 21 points and it's like, you can't win that game. It's like, you're nobody.
Well, because of a certain situation in Houston, there might be some hope there, right, for you guys. But we'll get to that in a second. I want to ask you this, though, because, Trubisky, if they give him an extension, obviously I think Bears fans would probably be mad about that at this point. But who knows? It seems like that's the Bears way, right? He had an okay season. Maybe we'll bring him back and see if we can replicate something here. But the quarterback problem has been a problem for Chicago going back forever. I mean, I love Jay Cutler, but it didn't really work out there. And then obviously going all the way back to, Jim McMahon and the 85 Bears and the Super Bowl team, there really hasn't been any great quarterback play there. And I think, like, I don't know if you believe in karma or sports gods or any of that stuff, but do you feel like the Bears, or Chicago in general, and all leading up to when the Cubs actually finally broke that curse, do you feel like it's almost being held against them, like the curse of having Michael Jordan for a decade and a half and having the most badass player in sports for so long in your city, that you guys are not paying for that?
I've never thought about it like that. And it's like, because it's like basketball we don't even bring up. It's like the Bulls, not being that good. It's kind of like, okay, well, I can live a couple more decades of them not being good because I got the 90s as a child. And it's like, nothing will ever be better than that ever. So you're like, whatever. But like, just with the Bears, it's like the conversation I was having the other day with a friend was like, when's the last time you saw a Chicago Bears player on a TV commercial?
Good question.
And I was like, I don't even remember. I'm maybe in the 90s, but like Mike Singletary, maybe in the 90s, I think, which was the last Bears. But it's like, that like shows you the lack of like star caliber people. And now there's Brian Urlacher doing like the hair signs all around Chicago. I don't know if you've seen those, the Urlacher with hair things.
You got it resodded and looking good.
Yeah.
I feel like you can't go from being bald to having a full head of hair. I mean, maybe you can if you're that confident, but that's one of those things where if you're bald, you're kind of bald for life, no?
And he looked great bald. I don't know why he
did. He had a great bald.
Do this.
Right, and he was like famous. Yeah. Oh my God. Can you imagine how much money they paid him to grow hair on his head?
A lot.
I would let them grow fake hair on my head for Deshaun Watson if that's one of the questions. Like, absolutely.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, and it's just like the quarterbacks have been miserable. And like Mitch, we're on the Mitch bandwagon. As far as Chicago Bears quarterbacks go, he's like top 3 Bears quarterbacks of the last 15 years, which is crazy because he's not even, he's a bottom 10 quarterback in the league of the starting 32. He might be bottom 5 even. It's hard to find, a ton of quarterbacks that are worse than him in the NFL right now. There's a lot of good quarterbacks. They're on some bad teams, but like you watch these guys throw the ball. Like your guy's homeboy from St. Louis, the backup quarterback for the Blue Hawks was
Taylor Heineke. What a stud.
Heineke comes out there, and I'm like, why is this guy better than Mitchell? Like, why is this guy better than every quarterback on the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, the backup quarterback for an XFL team outplayed Mitchell Trubisky.
That was watching that guy play was one of the funnest games of football of the year. I have to say too.
It was great.
That was like, I was like, this is awesome. Like, you knew they were going to lose, but that dude was just like balls up every play. And I was like, hell yes. Like, this guy is just the best.
He was. See, the way that you talk about Taylor Heineke, I can hear the passion in your voice. I can hear how desperately you want to cheer for a quarterback. You want somebody to be your guy, to be the Bears guy. And it seems as if the stars could be aligning for Chicago Bears fans. I don't want to get your hopes up. It is a long shot. There's a lot of things that have to go right for this to happen. But we know that there is a mess down in Houston. Deshaun Watson is unhappy. He has made it very clear that he wants out and that he could potentially force a trade from the Texans. Meanwhile, up in Chicago, Bears fans are thinking, oh my gosh, Deshaun is the one that got away. He's the one that was there. They could have taken him in the draft. They didn't. If Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are coming back, is this when they make it right? Is this when they go out and they get Deshaun Watson? So have you let yourself go there yet? Have you let yourself think maybe the Bears will do what it takes and they will go out and get Deshaun?
See, like, you have to understand my mindset as a Bears fan. I'm like a complete and total homer. Like, I played fantasy football 1 year in my life. I had the Bears quarterback, I had the Bears defense, I had all Bears players. I got absolutely destroyed. And I've never played fantasy football ever again. So I'm like all in all the time. So it's like that Deshaun Watson thing like popped him, you know, once I saw that floating around, I'm like, oh yeah, we're doing this, baby. We're going to get it. We got to get him. You know, it's like, I'll start sending them DMs on Twitter, inviting them to the soft opening of the restaurant and just like, come on, let me show you around Chicago. Like you'd be the man of this town. Like everyone here, it's like we're a town full of like, you know, single people like waiting for that one person, and like Deshaun's it. You know what I mean? It's like we all just want to be in love with someone. And if you just show up here, we'll all be in love with you. Like that's all you need to do is like be here.
Except at this point, you're what? You're probably like in your mid to late 40s, though. I don't know if are you as hot as you used to be? I don't know. Are you as desirable as you used to be? I don't know if do quarterbacks want to go play for the Bears? I don't know. I mean, I almost feel like the Bears could turn Deshaun Watson, who looks like Superman sometimes, into Mitchell Trubisky just because of the Bears. Like, is there any fear in your mind that they could actually ruin him?
Yeah. Oh, it's like that thing in the back of your head of like, you know, is all of this just a tremendous mistake? It's like always the thing with quarterback. It's like the biggest thing for Bears fans right now with Trubisky is like our biggest fear is like this guy's going to go to New England next and win like 17 Super Bowls. And we're all just going to like never be able to look at ourselves in the mirrors again. Or just like lie to our children that Mitch Trubisky was ever here. Like, didn't he play for the Bears? We'll be like, no, that wasn't.
No, we don't speak of it.
That was Carl Trubisky, his cousin. Mitch wasn't. We wanted Mitch. We really did. But we got Carl. So I think it's like that's part of it. But I think for the right person, Chicago is an awesome fit. This is a football town. We're looking for that person, and I think like Deshaun Watson's a perfect fit because it's like that guy, like the swag, the way he plays the game. Like he would be like, you know, like the White Sox are right now with the young guys like Tim Anderson, Luis Robert, and just like how fun they are to watch. He would be that guy that made the Bears that team from a offensive perspective, where the defense is pretty fun to watch right now. They have a ton of that, but it's like the offense goes out there and it's like every time the ball goes in the air, you're not like, oh baby, you're like, oh fucking baby, here we go. Like, you know.
Well, it's funny because his college coach, Dabo Swinney, like literally compared him to Michael Jordan, said he was the Michael Jordan of basically football before the draft. Right. So we're just connecting dots here. That's what we're trying to do. We're matchmaking is what we're doing.
And I think it's like, you know, you look at that team, it's a well-built team, you know, for a lot of reasons. And I think, you know, Nagy has issues, but him getting rid of the play calling, taking that out of his hands was a huge step this year. So I would kind of like to see, you know, given the benefit of the doubt, I think he's just a bad game manager. I think calling the plays was part of that. Mm-hmm. was like he just couldn't do it all. You know what I mean? And so I could kind of give him a pass on that. Ryan Pace, I don't know. He's got to do something this offseason to save his job for me in my mind is like where I'm at. But I would have been fine with firing both of them too. I'm like talking myself into letting them stay. You know what I mean? Like, but that's my relationship with the Bears of like, oh, well, they're not going to do it again, right? Like he said he was sorry. So
he'll never do it again.
Right. He was just drunk and in Cabo. Like it didn't count. Like, so it's, you know, that's kind of where I am with them.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we know that you want Deshaun. We know that you want him bad, but let's see how bad you really want him. Steve and I are going to come up with some weird scenarios, but we're going to test you as a Bears fan, just how far you're willing to go to get Deshaun to Chicago, okay?
Okay.
Okay, first things first, you're a chef. We know that the most important thing to a chef in a lot of cases is his knife. You need some good cutlery. So would you, for an entire year, only use a butter knife in the kitchen for Deshaun?
For Deshaun, I'd make it work. I could sharpen that butter knife up, get it on the stove, get it on the sidewalk, whatever you need to do.
Might not be the prettiest plate, but it'll still taste good. We promise you.
I'd make it, you know what? It'd be I'd be able to do it a lot of bigger portions and just say that was part of the thing and that it was a new style of food. And you just got to package it right. You sell it.
Yeah. We got a no chop policy here at the restaurant. We just don't cut anything. Everything is whole.
Yeah. It just cuts down on carbon emissions.
Yeah, there you go. All right. How about this one? All right. Give me some background really quickly because you mentioned the White Sox. Are you a White Sox fan, Cubs fan?
Sox fan.
Okay, so White Sox, we're Bulls. I don't know. We could throw the Chicago Fire in there. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, love the Fire.
If you guys get Deshaun Watson, would you be okay with them no other team in Chicago making the playoffs as long as he's there? Would you do it for Deshaun?
Oh yeah. I'm Bears over everything. I would be like, because here's the thing: White Sox had a World Series in 2005. Cubs, I hope they never make the playoffs again. I'm totally fine with that. And everybody else, it's like they've had good runs, but it's like the Bears, it's like we went to one Super Bowl that we knew we were going to get absolutely trounced in my lifetime. It's like, we need it.
So screw all the other teams. We're done. Yeah. Get them out of here.
Yeah. And I think everybody in Chicago would be like, we could put that out of ballot as a resolution and it would get voted for by 99% of people.
Okay.
You know what? Maybe that's the galvanizing thing we need.
Right?
Yep. We're 2 for 2 here.
Else. Okay. All right. So you're going to do it for Deshaun. We are in a pandemic. A lot of people aren't going places. What do? We watch TV. We veg out. We Netflix and chill. This is what's happening in a pandemic. Would you, for the entirety of Deshaun's contract in Chicago, not watch TV other than Bears games? Would you do it for Deshaun?
I can watch Bears games, though.
Only Bears games?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'd take that deal.
Really?
I'd make that work. I would make that work. Oh, yeah. If I could watch Bears games. I thought you were going to say I can't watch Bears games, but he's on the Bears. Cool. I'd be like, no, that would be worst case scenario.
But think about the dead of summer. The White Sox are killing it. You can't go anywhere. You cannot turn on the TV.
What about radio, though?
You can, of course, listen to radio.
Sox game on the radio is pretty good.
Okay.
Yes,
he's got a workaround. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. He's doing it for Deshaun.
All right. That's 3 for 3. We got to get hard. We got to get tougher here, Michelle.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like mine aren't as difficult, but I'm gonna do the next one.
We're in desperation mode here.
It sounds like it. Jeez.
I would do some weird shit right
What wouldn't you do? Yeah. We can get that at the end.
I've got some weird ones up my sleeve here.
Great.
All right. How about I'm gonna stick with the food theme. You cannot eat pizza for the entire length of Deshaun's contract.
Oh, I don't know if I could do that one.
Oh.
Ooh, you would not do it for Deshaun?
I don't know if I could. I'd love to say yes, but it'd be a lie. I'd be like sneaking it, you know what I mean? Like it was like a drug addict. Like I'd be like people like sliding me, pieces of pizza I couldn't do it.
They would find you and you'd have debris of crust all over your face.
Right.
Like, I don't know what happened.
Right. I don't think I could even do it if they're like, listen, just during the season. But if they're in the off season, you can eat as much pizza as you want. But during Bear season, you can't eat slice of pizza all Bear season. I don't think I could do that even.
So pizza greater than Deshaun. There you go.
Yeah. I wonder though if I would have.
One thing in Chicago greater than Bears is pizza.
I wonder though, Joe, had Steve asked you that question right after the Bears lost to the Saints, if you would have had a different answer. You've had some time, some separation in that immediate moment.
As that final buzzer was going,
yes.
If Steve would have been I'll trade you Deshaun Watson for your son straight up right now. It would have been do this quick before my wife comes back. Because she's super angry.
But you know what? Once
if you love me, you'll do this.
He would understand the sacrifice.
He would understand.
Yes. Okay. We live in a technology world. People our age, we text, we DM on social media. This is what we do. Would you, for an entire year, not be able to text anyone, DM, or email? If you wanted to communicate with someone, you had to pick up the phone and call them. Would you do it for Deshaun?
Oh, that's a tough one. You're just thinking of all those people who you hate to call.
Yes.
You're just like,
Be able to get him off the phone.
talk to every single purveyor at a restaurant. You know what I mean? Instead of just emailing your orders, like talk to every single one of them. Like, oh, well, let me tell you about this other thing. It's like people would hate me because I'd be hanging up on people fucking constantly. I think I'd do it. I think I'd do that, but it would be like I would lose lots of people around me because I would be like so over it and just like hanging up on people constantly.
All right, you do it.
The friend count would go way down.
Yeah.
All right, last one here. I don't know what like kind of style you're into. Obviously, you've already got a Bears hat on, so maybe this is a bad question for you. But how about this? During the entire time Deshaun is the Bears quarterback, you can only wear a Deshaun Watson jersey. Would you do that for Deshaun? So we're talking like we could be talking 4 or 5 years. The only thing you can wear out in public is a Deshaun Watson jersey.
So the real question is would I catch a divorce for Deshaun Watson?
Fair, yes. Kids on the table is the relationship on the table? Who knows?
Yeah, I feel like you got to do it for him, though. You know what I mean? It's like it's just a jersey. It's fine. I'm going for that.
We're talking like weddings.
Any sort of social
I already
got married.
You're the guy in the Deshaun jersey.
It's awesome. That's an awesome flex. You know what I mean? Because they would know. It's like, this is why he's here. You see that? You see, like, it would be like the old people, like telling the little kids at the wedding. You'd be like, you see that man over there? It's a great man, and let me tell you why. Like, you know, it'd be a special moment.
Yeah, you'd be like the Godfather. There you go.
Yeah.
The problem would be like at some point, it's just like, that's your life then. You can never take it off. You're like Ronnie Woo Woo or something. You know, it's like what happens like 6 years down the line and you like go to take it off. You're like, this is my personality now.
That's actually funny because there was a kid I went to high school with who every day to school wore a Panthers jersey, like a Carolina Panthers jersey. And I didn't know his name. He was just Panthers kid. That's what he became. Yeah. Panthers guy. So that could be your new thing. You could be Deshaun guy.
Yeah. Deshaun guy. Who's that? Oh, it's Deshaun guy.
Yeah.
You're like, didn't he retire 10 years ago? Yeah, no.
Just let it happen.
Okay. So we've learned that you would do almost anything except give up pizza for Deshaun.
Yeah. Shows you where my priorities are.
Well, I hope it happens for you. I know the rumors or maybe Miami or that Houston's going to try to make it work, but for
Miami, I don't get the Miami thing. That doesn't like what is the idea there? That they would trade them Tua?
The Tua and the picks. They have 2 first-round picks that they got from Houston.
Ooh.
So at least you have somebody to like
build around him.
To fit. You could be the face of the franchise. You're getting Deshaun, but you're getting this new exciting guy who's didn't have a great rookie year, but I don't know. I guess it'd probably be more of a selling point to the fans than anything else.
See, I think like the Bears have a ploy of like you could dump some like complimentary defense on them, where it's like you got Watt, and it's like we signed Quinn, who didn't do great here, but he's still supposed to be great. So if you sent Quinn and maybe you package in like an Eddie Jackson, an ex-Pro Bowler safety in there, and like give them like Nick Foles for the fuck of it, so they have somebody to play quarterback, and like. Give us Deshaun. Like, don't be dicks about it.
We need to just send you into the negotiating room.
Yeah, they should just send me down there to like talk to these guys. Be like, listen.
Do you know what we've endured? We need this.
Right. It's not working out here. Just let it go. Don't be that weird ex who like, well, if you're not with me, you're with no one. Like, let them be happy. You guys be happy. We all move on.
Well, you know what, Joe? If you don't get Deshaun, and it's, again, Nagy, it's Pace, it's Trubisky for 2021, at least you have Tony La Russa on the White Sox.
I still don't know how I feel about Tony La Russa. You keep telling me he's amazing.
That's our guy.
It's my guy.
I mean, it's like, they're like, oh, he's going to connect with the young players because he speaks Spanish. It's like, yeah, but he's also like 89 years old.
But think about all the wisdom he has in his life. He might be the smartest baseball man walking the face of the earth right now, and you have him as the leader of your team.
I hope you're right. I really hope you're right. I am super excited for the Sox team. I think they made a lot of moves in the offseason. I think we got some pitching now. I think they're going to be, and they were awesome to watch last year. They were super fun. And this year, it was a weird year because of like everything. I watched more baseball this year than I've watched in 10 years. It was like, the Sox played 60 games and I watched 47 of them. So it's like, and they were like, I thought one of the funnest teams to watch in baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, everyone knows that you were on Top Chef. What else do you have going on so that people can find you?
So I'm opening Rosemary restaurant in Chicago, Fulton Market. We're hopefully opening April 1st. So you guys should hopefully be coming up in the spring. Come eat with us.
Yes.
So that's where I will be the foreseeable future coming up. I hope. You know what I mean? We've been working on this thing for a long time, so we're hoping springtime we can finally unveil this bad boy.
It's going to be awesome. We will bring a caravan up from St. Louis. Joe is the best. Follow him on Instagram at insta.flamm. And Joe, hopefully we can connect with you down the road and celebrate Deshaun to the Bears.
Oh, I can't wait. It's going to happen, guys. It's just, positive outlook, positive outcome. That's our 2021 slogan here. We're rolling.
Positive vibes only.
That's it. All right. Great to see you guys.
Thanks Joe. See ya.
Later.
See ya.
Steve, I really hope that Bears fans land Deshaun Watson. After talking with Joe, you could just hear the desperation in his voice. I almost feel like we should have taken it up a notch. We should have asked him more aggressive things. Like, this is so disgusting. But one of the things I had on my list that I left there, I just left it on the table, was, would you eat a stranger's toenails for Deshaun? I thought it was too much. But now after talking to Joe, I think he might have said yes.
I think he would have said yes too. But I mean, how can you, where's the line when he basically was like, I might give my kid away. So at that point, I'm like, what else is what is even possible?
I know, but I empathize with Chicago sports fans. Yes, I said it. I hate Chicago sports, but the sports fans in Chicago are diehard. They love their teams. And even though the Cubs annoy us here in St. Louis, everybody has a friend in Chicago that has been really bummed out by the Bears for many years. I think back to 2007 when they were in that Super Bowl and how excited everybody I knew from Chicago was, only to get their heart broken. And it hasn't been that great since. It's been a long time.
It has, but they were in a Super Bowl recently.
2007, Steve.
Yeah, but okay.
Over 10 years ago.
Okay.
Almost 15 years ago.
So would you rather be a Lions fan?
No. That's a good point.
Feel worse for the Lions. You're another Midwest brethren, if you will.
Different. That's way up there. I don't have any relationship with Detroit. Okay. But I hate the Blackhawks. I hate the Cubs. I have a soft spot for the Bears. That's all I'll say.
The thing that Chicago has going for it too is, if we're doing collective uniform rankings for cities, they're up there. I mean, the Blackhawks sweater is phenomenal. The Bulls jerseys are great. Cubs hats and jerseys are great. The Bears, I think, have pretty sick jerseys. Far as stylistically, the White Sox are cool. Not my favorite, although the Sox thing is actually kind of cool in the hat. Maybe we do that. That could be something fun.
Next week, we're doing it.
Done. Listen,
I'm going to just say this right now. I'll definitely say it again next week, but we have to remove St. Louis from the rankings, because I don't think that there's a better combo than the classic Cardinals and the beauty of a blue sweater.
I'll do it though, because I do think it is. You're right. I actually, in my non-biased opinion, I would put St. Louis high up there. The only thing was, actually, I think losing the Rams, because their jerseys I thought sucked when they were there, that actually helps you guys out.
No, the Greatest Show on Turf Rams had sick jerseys where it was the yellow and that
the light
royal blue. Mm-hmm. Now, after that, when they went gold, terrible. Terrible.
All right, we'll save this content for next. This is a great call. We'll save this content for next week.
So tune into that for next week. But before we do that, Steve, before we say goodbye and head off into the weekend, let's read a review, shall we? If you haven't already, please head to Apple Podcasts, search for Small Talk, subscribe to it, rate it, preferably 5 stars, and leave a review. We always love hearing from you guys. How about this one, Steve? Title, Shelley's with Cats, 5 stars.
Okay.
This is great. Michelle and Ceruti are interesting, open-minded people that host this phenomenal pod. I will continue to listen until you one day retire from the podcast game. However, in all caps, I have but one simple request. Please lay off the cat people. Cats are kind and loyal animals with an impeccable judge of character. You could additionally apply those characteristics to our pair of hosts on the Small Talk pod. I encourage you both to seek out a cat lover you know well and ask them why they love their cat. I'm not asking either of you to take in a cat, but simply quit the constant bashing of those individuals who own cats. If we're cool with plastic surgery, we're cool with cats.
Okay. Great email. Your great review. I have a cat. Are we forgetting about this? I have a cat. So you're not talking about me then. I mean, I know I'm not a cat person, but I do have a cat. So I feel like I am not part of this conversation. Do we bash cats a lot too? I don't even remember us bashing cats.
We did when we did Make It or Break It, and we talked about people who don't like dogs, and then we brought up Solo Cat Guy.
But that's not about the cat. That's about the guy. I'm okay with the cat. I don't hate cats. It's the guy.
This person is saying that we should lay off cat people.
Now, it's a good point because, we preach tolerance. We preach whatever floats your boat. I think, what was the thing? Open-minded and interesting and open-minded. Those are two things I would want to be at the top of the list that people describe me as.
Yes,
so you're right. We need to lay off the cat people. We're sorry. Again, I own a cat, so I feel like I'm not really in this discussion, but we will learn going forward.
We don't bring that up enough that you're a cat
No,
guy.
we bring it up enough. Don't worry about it. We're good.
Ceruti, cat guy, noted cat guy. But yes, our apologies. He's totally right. If we're down with plastic surgery, we need to be down with cats. Whatever makes you happy. So you're right. From this moment on, the judgment of the solo cat guys stops.
We'll be better.
We will be better. And thank you for the 5-star review, even though we ripped cats. All right. Well, this was fun. Thank you again to Joe Flamm. Thank you to everyone for listening. We will be back in action next week. But until then, Steve, Cavs are here.
Looking forward to watching the Real Hoopers of Brooklyn.
Thanks for listening to Small Talk. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or the Podcast One app.